Is it possible to understand 100% of your content? Spoiler alert, the consensus is no, but there's a lot of nuance in that simple statement. With content continually growing in volume and variety, it's simply not possible to understand all your data, but you can manage it, understanding that you need to focus on the information that's critical to the business, that drives value to the organization, or meets regulatory or legal requirements. Simply put, you don't need to manage everything. You just need to focus on the stuff that's important. Easier said than done, obviously. There's been this tendency to save everything based on the idea that storage is cheap, but that just creates information landfills scattered across unstructured repositories. Dark data that, beyond providing no value to the organization, can also leave it exposed to legal and regulatory risk. And users don't want to be responsible for information management, they just want to get stuff done. And some users will even go out of their way to thwart information governance policies, to hoard content, game the system. Tools that can examine your enterprise information and make decisions about what is important to the organization and what can be defensively disposed of are key to drilling down to what needs to be managed. Those companies that can look at their data in stream, manage it appropriately, and make decisions on where it belongs will find themselves with a competitive advantage. We're going to have some industry experts weigh in with their thoughts. We have David McDermott, who is a certified records manager and information lifecycle governance consultant. He's also the past president and chairman of ARMA International and has written and edited privacy law and provided testimony on electronic discovery. Norm Friend is the business solutions integrator at SaskEnergy and has worked in the EIM space for over 20 years across many industries, focusing on records and information management. Douglas Schultz, an information governance strategist with a background in upstream energy, coming from companies like Anadarko Petroleum and Marathon Oil, and extensive experience with enterprise content and records management and digital transformation. Mike Brookover, partner and CEO at Alitek, drawing on over 25 years of experience in technology and organizational leadership. He's been leading information strategy and digital transformation projects for Fortune 100 clients. And Gerry Guilbeault is the Associate Managing Director, Records and Information Management at CIBC. He's a certified information professional, an AIM Electronic Content Management Master, and a co-founder of the Chicago Information Governance Roundtable.
I think you can get close. I think you can deploy tools to get you there, but you still have to do with the human intervention. People game these systems. It's crazy, but they do. I had a guy come up to me on one of my clients years ago, and he said, well, I'm just going to I can get software that can change the last modified date to today's date, and I'm just going to do that for all my content. Why would you do that? And he said, well, I don't want my content destroyed. I don't believe the retention periods support the kind of content I create. So you always have that human intervention, that human process that people will hoard content. They'll name it something different. They'll try to hide it. I encourage anybody that's looking at trying to get a handle on their content, trying to get to that 100%, to seriously look at some of these tools that are out there that can get them there or get them close. When you get people wanting to game systems, they're doing it for a reason, because they just don't believe in your policies or your processes. If that's the case and that's what's happening, you need to reevaluate your program. It used to be that you had to have file plan structure, you had to have classification, you had to have all this stuff. That's not necessarily the case today in these content systems. We rely on metadata. We rely on Google-esque searching. The young people in today's world, they just want to go in and say, this is what I want. When you do a Google search, it doesn't come back in folders. It comes back with, in some cases, thousands of hits, but it always produces the top level. And the content management systems can do that for you. You don't need folders anymore. Back in the day, we used to always try to move everything into a central repository, whatever organization or whatever company we'd use. We'd always try to go to what we referred to as a single source of truth. We wanted that content in a central repository. I believe that today's technology allows us to manage in place, and the systems can do that. But you've got to have people that believe in that in order to get it there.
The question is it possible to understand 100% of your content? And the short answer, if we're dealing in absolutes, is no, it's not, because your content changes every day. We're probably adding 5,000 to 6,000 documents into our unstructured data every day. And I don't even know what the volume of structured data that we're adding. So understanding that, it would mean that instantly we know what we've added, and we know from an analytical standpoint what was added and how we need to react to it. The key is, can you manage 100% of your data? And that you can do with the right structures, with a regular analysis of what has been entered into both your structured stores and your unstructured stores, and then reacting appropriately to that in terms of saving that information or eliminating it in a timely fashion. But that is going to be one of the differentiators between successful companies in the future, is how quickly they can react to what is in their information stores in terms of trend analysis, in terms of responsiveness to inquiries, and in terms of privacy for our customers, because a reputational issue is going to arise, I think, in the very near future around customers being concerned with the volume of information that we store about them. And not so much that they want it eliminated, but they want to make sure that it is being managed by those companies that they're dealing with, to understand that it is, one, secure, and two, can be eliminated at the appropriate time. We have regulatory requirements in the financial services industry that require us to keep customer data after the customer relationship has ended for a period of time. So it's not instantaneous, but the fact that we know that it's there, the fact that we are managing it appropriately, is going to lead to some peace of mind with our customers and make it easier for them, or more advantageous for them, to do business with us. So it's not necessarily understanding 100% of your content, it is managing that content appropriately and understanding it over time.
So I don't think it's possible or even a good idea to try to understand 100% of your content as it exists today. We have too much data coming in through too many channels too quickly to be able to ingest and make business decisions based on that volume. The true leaders going forward are going to be able to look at that data as it comes in stream, make better decisions on how to handle that data or whether even to keep it, and then move forward and make the actions they need to take to run their business. The technology now exists to tackle the digital landfill and also keep all of your repositories clean going forward. But the value is not in touching that data. The value is you can now make better decisions quicker and faster than your competition using the technology platforms that are going forward.
One question that consistently comes up where companies are just launching a program for better management of their documents and other unstructured content is, can the organization understand and manage 100% of their content? The better question might be, should they want to take on the task of understanding and managing 100% of their content? You know, organizations certainly need to have knowledge of their content and where it's located in order to respond to e-discovery, audit, or other regulatory requests. If the organization has content that's associated with any of the privacy regulations like HIPAA, GDPR, or CCPA, it's very important that the content be understood and managed. But there's a wide gap between what you need for these purposes and understanding and managing 100% of your content. If the organization does the traditional implementation of an enterprise content and records management system and implements a traditional information governance framework for employees to follow, it's usually impossible to understand and manage 100% of their content. And that really boils down to the simple reason that users don't want to do what's necessary for effective information management. They already have their real job, or they haven't really been trained in information management, or they see it as administrative or busy work. I believe there are groupings of content that an organization has to understand and manage. One grouping is content that's critical to the business. This content might include operational procedures, contracts, maintenance records, invoices, a host of other examples. This is content that's needed to run the business in an efficient manner. Without it, there will be inefficiencies like recreating steps to do preventive maintenance on a motor, or recreating terms with key suppliers, or having inconsistent handling of employee performance reviews. Another grouping of content that our organization needs to understand and manage are those needed for legal or regulatory reasons. These could be a subset of the content that's critical to the business, but in this case, an outside party is dictating to the organization that this content be kept secure and available, and usually for some time period. And there's numerous examples of fines being levied against companies that didn't manage their records well. PG&E Corporation was fined for mismanagement of natural gas pipeline records. CVS was fined for inaccurate record keeping for prescription drugs, and a host of other examples. This grouping of content usually needs special treatment to ensure it's not inadvertently deleted before the period that it should be retained for has expired. Another group of content that needs to be understood and managed is the history of the organization. This includes things like the articles of incorporation, maybe other SEC information if it's a public company, patents, other records for intellectual property of the organization also needs to be managed and understood. With the volume of unstructured information entering organizations increasing dramatically year over year, automating information governance is no longer a nice to have. It's possible to move closer to an understanding and managing the majority of the organization's content if the governance and compliance tasks are as simple as possible and automated to the maximum extent possible. Ideally, users have no idea that information security and records management is even being applied or happening in the background. Extracting value from the content as it's brought into the organization can go a long way into understanding a larger percentage of the information. Proactively identifying and categorizing the content at the same time can mean a larger percentage of it can be managed. With the increase in privacy regulations, this automation needs to include remediation of private and sensitive content upon entry into the organization. AI, machine learning, the text analytics that it provides can automate these tasks and provide more governance over an organization's information so the organization can approach the goal of a larger percentage of its information being understood and managed.
I'm not sure it's important to understand and manage 100% of your content. There's two things there. Is it possible to understand, and is it possible to manage? And there's another point, is it important? So understanding should be a goal of 100%. I think if you look at all of your content, understanding that content is important. Is it possible to get 100%? It would require a lot of effort. It would require funding. It would require support from your organization. I think the goal would be to understand 100% of your content. Is it then important to manage 100% of your content? No. Again, with exponential growth of information, our focus has to be on information that provides the most value to our organization. High value, high risk information has to be our focus. By understanding our content, we can help identify and flag those high value, high risk information. And then Our goal should then be managing 100% of that information that provides high value and high risk to our organization. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible to manage 100% of your high value, high risk information. That is achievable. And that really should be the goal, not managing everything, managing the stuff that's important.
So this was just one of the many questions we put to our industry experts. Look out for the following breakouts, where we have them address issues around what is the true cost of data management? How do you get corporate buy-in for information governance programs? How can you reduce the cost and complexity of data preparation prior to an ECM project? And what is the future of content management and what technologies will support it? Also join ShinyDocs founder and CEO Jason Cassidy in his session, What Does the Next Generation of Software Look Like?, where he'll show off some of ShinyDocs' capabilities with a comprehensive demo. ShinyDocs can help you identify the content you need to manage, from eliminating redundant, obsolete, and trivial files to building context around your critical documents and ensuring they are searchable, drive business value, and are appropriately secured. A metadata crawl can quickly identify how much rot you're sitting on across all your repositories, make decisions about what information can stay where it is, what can be defensively disposed of, and what needs to be migrated to content server and managed. Just a note, we know everyone is vying for your attention these days with virtual events, Zoom calls, and online webinars. And we feel you, so we've kept these sessions short. We'll also make sure you have access to them on demand after the event, so be sure to register for the sessions and sign up, even if the session is set for 2 a.m. in your particular time zone. We'll follow up and make sure you get access to the content. If you have any questions or want to learn more about moving to document understanding, driving executive buy-in, increasing adoption of your content server investment, or just recognizing what business problems understanding all of your enterprise data can solve, feel free to contact us at sales@shinydocs.com. Thank you.